Hello and welcome to Dark Age of Camelot. So, this is Camelot on the Free Shard Uthgard, which has just recently been reopened, I believe, and this runs at the time when there was patch 1.65, so that's, I believe, just after the first expansion. So at the minute I don't think they have that expansion in the game, I think it's just the original, but I believe they are adding that, but nothing else. So basically this is an early MMO, it was released in 2001, and it's sort of in two halves. So the first half is the PvE where you level up, and this is a dungeon. Then the other half is the PvP. So I believe in this version there are battlegrounds, which are sort of like the mini PvP areas, and there's also the frontiers, which is the big, large world PvP area. So there's 3 realms. I'm Albion. There's also Midgard, the Norse type, and the Hibernian Celtic type. So Albion is obviously the Arthurian type knights, etc. So there's lots of different classes, different spells, various things. It's very, very varied in that way. There's different... can't think of what to call different species to play. So I can't say it, but basically I'm one. There's humans and various others with different stats. Again, like most of these sort of games. Now I'm a Cabalist cast, and I have a pet which I use to fight with. So I'm basically a caster. And if you do start this game, I recommend always starting with a caster, because they don't really need much equipment like the melee classes do. So I'm just going to attack with my pet. Then I'm going to put a damage over time on him and put my... oh dear, that's not good. And put my pet shield on. So he might... oh, he broke that. That's not good. Let's see if I can run about a bit and not die. He's nearly dead. That didn't go very well. So as a caster, I have a quick cast. Once you get past level 5. So before level 5, they're sort of like starter classes, and then you can choose your main class, what you'll turn into. So you can see you have different stats, different resistances, strength, constitution, etc. Weapon skill. Have items of clothing. So I've got some drops. So I've got 1 drop here. Some more I'm saving for my melee class. So basically you level up to 50 and then you go and PvP in the main world, but the battlegrounds start, I'm not sure in this version, but generally the most popular one was the levels 20 to 25, which was Vidranki. Let's just have a look if there's anybody there. There's 1 person at the minute, but it's early days, this hasn't been out that long. So let's go out to the dungeon. Actually, let's have a look over here. We have keeps. So in the frontier, which is the main PvP area, you have these keeps. So each realm has, is it... oh, it's actually 7, not 8. Yeah. And 2 relic keeps. Now, in each relic keep, you have an artifact, or relic. So each realm has 2, and if you have them, you gain some extra magic for the power one, or melee for the strength one. So Albion, as is always the way, have lost theirs. And Midgard, again, early on, and I think in 1.65, Midgard was still a bit overpowered. But anyway, because the trouble is, Albion has 13 classes, and I think Hibernia and Midgard have 8 or 9. I can't remember which way around. But they have the same amount of skills. So the skills in Albion are spread a lot thinner, and it's a lot harder to get a group. There's also 1 or 2 skills which Albion don't have, and have less of, which make it very hard to take keeps at the minute. So later on they did change things, but I believe that is not the case in this. But anyway, so I played this game in the open beta and then in the full game, and I chose to play a melee class, an armsman, and I chose to play a thrust armsman, which was the worst class, a thrust pole armsman, which was basically the worst class in the game at the time. Apart from the pole arm line being very poor, basically you have different styles you put up here instead of spells, and you have some which you can only activate from behind, for example, and then you have change, which you can activate after the initial skill and carry on. I think up to 3 they only went up to. So if you got behind somebody, you could use the behind skill, then you'd have a skill which would chain from that, and another skill which would chain from that, and so on. So I want to leave the dungeon, it gets quite busy. Now I will say, at peak times there are at the minute big queues for this. Almost twice the number of people actually playing are actually queuing. So yeah, get on out of peak time or else you're going to struggle. So let's go out into the world and die, because I won't have my pet with me, which is a bit of a disadvantage for this class. There's normally mobs here which I'm going to have to run away from quick. Oh, there we go. Run! Oh, this way. So every class has a sprint which uses endurance, which also melee classes use for their actions, for their skills. There's a caster, let's save a bit of sprint just in case. I have power there, and this here is the XP bar, so I'm only level 8. And one thing you'll notice about this and other old school MMOs is there's a lot of downtime. So I think in things like World of Warcraft, your hit points and power, or whatever stats you use, go up really quite quickly when you're not in combat. In this, that's not the case. If I sit down, which makes them recoup faster, see my endurance is slowly going up, and that's the fastest of the 3. That goes up fastest. So there's a lot of downtime which takes getting used to. It's a shame they really didn't get rid of it, because it is probably the one not fun aspect of the game, of many of these old MMOs. So in later versions they did make it easier to level, of course, but this is quite an old version, and that is not the case. It's still pretty time consuming. So each realm has its own PvE places made of several zones. Got a map here. See, these are the Albion zones. Hadrian's Wall, Pennine Mountains, Snowdonia and Forest. That's how you say that, Savage. Are all the PvP areas. So if we go Snowdonia, we have the keep, we have a fortress, it's sort of like a gateway, and we have the relic castle. And so basically what happened, I'm not sure in this version, but I think you have to take some keeps before you can take the relic castle. Well, you can't take the relic castle, but you can take the relic within once you've taken so many of the keeps, as far as I can remember. It's been a long time. So I only really played a lot in the early days, probably about 2001 to 2004 or 5 at most. So we go to Pennine Mountains, you can see there's 4 keeps here. Now also, if you have the realm that has the most keeps, which is currently very much Midgard, gets to go in the special dungeon Darkness Falls, which is over here somewhere, but only the realm with the most keeps can actually enter it, and that has its own currency and the things you can collect in there. And it's a good spot to PvE as well. Anyway, as ever, Albion are struggling. It looks like the Hibs are as well at the minute. So you also of course have quests, you have tasks. If I go up to a named guard, let's do that. It's just over this bridge. So you have the bind points here and the healer. Oh, we got that quest as well now. Let's just go and see what this is. Now I also need to make my pet again. So I miss my father. He left me here alone. He told me you must look what's up with the tower east of this bridge. Find your father. Okay, tower east of the bridge. Oh, the map didn't reset. I thought it might. Camelot Hills. So this is the starting zone. So we're here. Oh, it must mean the old broken down tower here. Okay. Well, I'll do that later on. So of course we've got chat. We have combat, chat. You have the hotbars with your skills and spells. So there's the magic you have. So you spec in a line. So these top three are the base spec. You get similar with the melee as well. These bottom three are what you spec in. So the more points you spec into these, the more these spells you get. So I've done mainly Vivification, which is spirit animation, which is the pet thing. So go around the world, upgrading, leveling up, getting new stuff, etc. There are crafts, again, you can use to upgrade your stuff. I've not actually got any at the minute. So if I go Whisper task as well to this guard, I have to kill a spirit. That's easy, so I can do that while I wander about. But it does help if I have my pet with me, or so it won't last very long. So if you played Camelot in the past and you don't really have the time or the money for subscription anymore, and you don't like, well, to be honest, the lack of people and the way the official server, which there's only really one now, still works. And I have to say it's very elitist, I say the least. It's not a lot of fun for casual players anymore. And as I said, the only trouble with this version is the leveling downtime, I think. If they allowed the regeneration of things quicker when you're out of combat, I think it would be much better. Even just double it, not make it as fast as some modern games. They're having to sit. Even the casters tend, well, most classes, there are some who don't use much mana or are particularly good at leveling, but for most you spend as much time sat down as actually fighting, which isn't really that exciting. So let's find this spirit. Now, as a Kabbalist, I'm quite a good leveling class. I don't use that much mana. There's one. So target him for the spell. Now he's on his own, so I don't need to pull him to anywhere safe. He's only a blue, which is, as in most of these games, blue signifies it's about my level. Yellow higher, orange even higher, red really high, purple death. Right, let's cast my dot on him. My pet can kill him himself without help. Put the damage shield on to reflect the damage back on him. That keeps it stuck on my pet and not attacking me. There we go. Right. I'm going to head up here to Castle Savage and go to the frontier, so I'll see you when I get there. Okay, so here we are at Castle Savage almost. Hopefully. I'm sure I'm following the road and it's along here. Now there are horse routes to get to places. They only go from certain places and only go to certain places. So you can't just get to every single location from one horse, one stable rather. So you have to learn the routes a bit. So as I said, this game was released in 2001, which is amazing. It's so old. And it's never really been replicated, I think, as far as the PvP with the 3 realms. So I think people who did this game went to make Warhammer Online, which only had 2 realms, which is fair enough considering the material it was based on, but it failed, I think, because of that. And there was always one realm too powerful, I think, in that game. I did enjoy that game, but now this is the portal to various places. I think, as far as I can remember, to the other realms' frontier zones and to the battlegrounds. Now this is the Albion frontier. So anywhere past here, past the frontier keep, is the PvP zone. And I'll probably get killed in a minute. I'll try to get to a keep. If I don't... So let's have a look. So we're in Forest Savage. See if we can get to the Relic Keep. So I think this person is using me as bait. There's a chance people won't bother me because they get nothing from killing me because I'm so low level. Oh. And that's the problem. That wolf will kill me very quickly in one hit probably. Oh, he's neutral. See if I can get past. I think the lower level you are, the larger aggro range they have as well. So I can always sprint away. Oh, there's a bit of load in there. Probably signifies... Oh, Deathstalkers, they're very nasty. Well, of course, everything's nasty to me at the minute. So I'm not exactly sure at what point this patch is and what's what. So every keep has guards and it has a boss basically at the top. So let's go in, and we actually made it. Wow. So I've got the twin doors. And here we are. Now I believe if we go to this merchant, sells various craft stuff. Now there should be catapults and what do you call them? Things that knock the doors down, which you can use to break into keeps as well, which is also great. And not really, don't know if it's been replicated in anything much. That was great fun, particularly if you was a class like an armsman, which I was, with no ranged ability to talk of at the time. Using a catapult or something was great, but they were extremely expensive. So let's go in here. Now there's also, if you die, you lose XP. If you go to your grave, does that go anywhere these days? Probably not. If you go and pray at your grave, you'll get most of it back, but not all. But I think in RVR, if you're killed by another player, you don't actually lose anything, which is good. Oh, was this not the where the main boss is? Perhaps it's in another tower. Ah, so that's an entrance to Darkness Falls, the special dungeon, which we don't have access to because we don't have the keep. So the NPCs are very quick at spotting people, so if you watch them, you can get to see where the enemy are quite quick. Anyway, so let's go up here. So there's no relic in the keep there. Apparently no sort of boss one in the relic keep. I thought there was, but perhaps there isn't. Perhaps they're just in the normal keeps. So just over there is one of the keeps, and it's currently Albion's. So it looks like Midgard have been messing around with Hibernia this time. And that's Dark Age of Camelot, so levelling up because of the slowness can be a bit aggravating at times, just because of the waiting to regen all the time. But the PvP is probably still the best. Well, at least the round v round, the big PvP, is still fantastic. Anyway, so that's Dark Age of Camelot, the Uthgard Free Shard. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next time.